So first of all, we should always draw a number line because otherwise it might be confusing. So we have the freezer in the minus 26 and minus 17. This will change in your exam, so make sure that you write down the number line with the right numbers. In the fridge, we have a range between 3 and 11 degrees. That might also change in your exam, so the numbers will be different. Your room temperature will be between 18 and 24. So in this exam, we have that here in this section, and there is also the room temperature, which is down here, and they are in bold, those numbers. So the first task is to draw the number line. Don't forget the minus numbers, they go -1, -2, and so on, -3. So they increase here. And in the plus side, they increase on that side. We need to calculate the difference first. It says the maximum difference in temperature between the fridge and the room. So between the fridge, which is here, and the room. And it has to be the maximum amount of difference. So if we were to take those two numbers, that's not a big difference, because difference means the maximum difference is like the greatest and the longest distance in both ways. So these, if we were to take those numbers, that's a little bit better, but still we can extend it. We could take these two numbers, and then it's even longer. Do you see? This is only that arm length, but if I do that, it's a whole arm length. So this is definitely longer than just this one or this one. Yeah. So we take the number 3 and we take the number 24 because this is the longest. Yeah. If we were to take 18, that's not as long as, you know, that line. So we take those two numbers. And then we count the steps in between. So you can do that on your number line, but you can also calculate from how do you get from 3 to 24. So there's a difference of 21 steps in between. B says the maximum difference temperature between the freezer and the room. So we have the freezer here and the room here. We've already established that this is the highest number, 24. So we're not going to take 18 because that's not as long. So we want to take, you know, the furthest number to the right. And then we want to take the furthest number to the left, which is then all the way over here. So we take these two numbers. And now we want to calculate the steps in between. So if we were to make this mistake that we do 26 minus 24 is 2 degrees difference. But if we think about it, 2 degrees are already here, you know, or here, and so on. So it has to be more than 2. That is because we need to add those two numbers, 26 and 24, because there are 26 steps here until we reach 0. And then there are another 24 steps to this side. So actually we have to add those two numbers. So this is where students make usually a mistake because they just minus everything. But this one has to be a plus number. Okay, so the next one is between the fridge and the freezer. So we have the fridge here and the freezer. We take the number that is furthest out to the right, which is 11, because that one is not as, you know, we can go further. 11 is further, so we take that one. And the biggest number to that side is 26. So we have the longest distance between those two. And again, we need to calculate 26 to number 0, and then plus 11. So again, these two numbers, we have to add them. Even though it asks for the difference, I know that might be confusing, but think about it, that is the difference. It's just because it's a minus number, it will turn plus. the last one is, it says, the alarm is triggered when the temperature of either the fridge or the freezer rises 3 degrees above the specified range. So when is the alarm triggered? Plus 3 degrees. So we look up the fridge and we know that, let's say, if we go here, a difference of plus 3 degrees would be 0. I don't think the fridge will, will have a problem with 0 degrees, because the colder, the better. So that's fine. But there will be a problem if here plus another 3. So this one does trigger no alarm. But here we're going to have an alarm because 11 plus 3 is 14. So 14 is far too high, and we don't want 14 degrees in our fridge, because otherwise, the milk and so on is definitely off. In the room, in the freezer has also an alarm. And here the alarm is not to that side. So if the freezer would really be plus another 3 degrees, which would be 26, 29, so the alarm would not go off, because the colder, the better. But if the alarm, so 17 minus 3 is 14. So if the freezer has only minus 14 degrees, the alarm would go off, because that's not a good number. We are already 3 degrees above the specified range, and then this would trigger an alarm. Plus 3 here doesn't trigger an alarm, because the colder the better. Same for here. But if we go to the right side, so if it gets warmer, the fridge or the freezer, plus 3, it will. And here with the freezer, you have to be careful. You cannot do 17 plus 3, because if you do 17, if you ignore the minus, then you're going to be something here with 19. But 19 is in the range. So be careful about the freezer. That one is quite tricky. If you might, you might add the plus 3, but you actually have to do minus 3 here because of the temperature layout. So if you draw a number line here, that will help you to figure out if it's minus or plus.